Violent confrontation in a Riverside County jail cell turning deadly nearly 4 years ago. Now an arrested man's family has reached a settlement for $7.5 million. Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan explains an attorney for the man's children says deputies mishandled the whole thing.
A multi-million-dollar settlement by Riverside County after a man who was arrested for public intoxication is forcibly removed from his jail cell. 2 days later, he was dead.
When they have these adverse reactions, they need to be treated like patients and not like the enemy.
Attorney John Burton represents the children of 39-year-old Christopher Zumwalt, who was arrested not far from his Cabazon home in October 2020.
He was having paranoid delusions that people were chasing him that weren't there. So a neighbor actually called the police, and the police came out and they said, well, we're going to have to take you in for being under the influence. And he said, okay.
Deputies eventually putting Zumwalt in what's known as a sobering cell.
He seemed fine. I mean, he was obviously, I think the term that I hear is tweaking. He was pacing back and forth and he was becoming increasingly agitated. By the end of that time, he was kind of yelling. He was reaching in the toilet, thinking there was money in the toilet.
What drugs did you take today?
That's when deputies tried to get Zumwalt to come out of his cell, but he wasn't cooperating.
Rather than calling mental health professionals and using de-escalation tactics, they activated what's called the emergency response team, which are 12 jailers who were all dressed up in body armor and helmets.
After multiple tear gas canisters proved unsuccessful, deputies went in.
And they went in with an electrified shield, pinned him to the ground, and then they handcuffed him and put him in this chair and tied him in the chair way too tight.
Burton says that's when Zumwalt became unresponsive.
And after about 15 minutes, the paramedics get him resuscitated. But by then it was too late. He'd had irreversible brain damage. And they took him to the hospital and he passed away 2 days later.
Riverside County would settle for $7.5 million. Sheriff Chad Bianco releasing a statement that read in part, quote, "The facts of this case clearly show the actions of our deputies were appropriate and lawful. Methamphetamine is a horrible, dangerous drug and has been causing these exact deaths across the country since the 1990s. The actions of Mr. Zumwalt, while in a methamphetamine-induced psychosis, caused his death. Fighting with deputies required to do their job increased his already taxed circulatory system." Rob McMillan, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC 7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel. And download the ABC 7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.